This guy is bringing something new to the world of breathwork and nervous system regulation that other people have not yet been able to harness, especially in the Jewish world.
So the work that I do brings together things like somatic experiencing, IFS, mindfulness, and we really work with the subconscious. We jump in and we just start exploring and getting to the root of things, resolving slow and steady, sustainable growth.
People look at triggers as, oh, this person is toxic, this relationship is toxic.
Triggers are our biggest teachers. They show us exactly what needs attention, what's unresolved. We go on the journey, we have this peak experience just as an excuse to integrate.
Welcome to Pure Podcast. Today, I am sitting here with Levi Sada. He is a somatic therapist and a facilitator based in Yerushalayim in Israel. And Levi works with individuals as well as groups and couples. He works internationally and he leads workshops and retreats. You guys are in for a massive treat today. He also helps with healing spaces that are centered around trauma and relationships, nervous system regulation, and communication, really also helping with the masculinity and embodied healing. Levi grew up in Los Angeles, the city of angels, and spent years and years and years in the world of enterprise and tech and high performance. And now, ultimately, he made the dramatic shift into full-time therapeutic and transformational work. So today in this podcast, in this conversation, we are going to crack his brain open and explore his upbringing, his family system, his faith, his identity, his healing path, October 7th, and the turning points in his life that led him into his most holy work. So Levi, welcome. It is such an honor to have you here in Miami on Pure Podcast.
Yeah, it's an honor to be here. I'm so excited. This has been like a long time in the making.
Just a little background. We met, what was it, about 6 or 7 months ago?
Yeah, October time was when I was here last.
Yeah, that was really neat to meet you. I got a phone call. Somebody needed help with breath work, and I do sound baths and you do breath work, and it kind of just all came together, and we did this incredible evening, this workshop that you led, and it was just out of this world. And I'm like, this guy is bringing something new to the world of breath work and nervous system regulation that other people have not yet been able to harness, especially in the Jewish world. And your approach is so unique. So I'm like, that's it. I got to learn from you. I got to have you on my podcast.
Thank you.
So what is it that you actually do?
Yeah. So the work that I do today consists of mainly working with people one-on-one in what I call the slow and steady healing work. So what that usually looks like is people who are somewhat already in touch with their inner world and are wanting to go deeper. Maybe have tried different therapeutic modalities, maybe have been to the psychedelic ceremonies and have had those peak experiences, have tried breath work, and they want to go deeper. And so the work that I do brings together things like somatic experiencing, IFS, mindfulness, and we really work with the subconscious to go really deep into what's happening in your inner world. So if you think about, imagine you and I put on scuba diving gear and we decide to jump into the water together with me as your sort of guide. And that's kind of what my sessions look like. We jump in and we just start exploring and getting to the root of things, resolving slow and steady, sustainable growth.
And what are people usually struggling with when they come to you?
Yeah, it can range anything from, basic people-pleasing, anxiety, lack of self-esteem, to addiction, to chaos in their relationships with whether it's friends or their spouse or parents. Those are sort of the main things. And
you use different modalities to kind of help them navigate that space?
Yeah, so it's really all about what I call corrective experiences. So it's about creating a space where we can, in a safe way, go back to those places, those earlier memories, and in a safe enough container, be able to resolve what was unresolved back then in a relational way. So I think that whereas therapy for so many years has created that boundary between the therapist and the client, where therapy has always been about, I'm this, fancy therapist that's going to diagnose you, with my fancy glasses, and I barely crack a smile, and really keeping that boundary, which is boundaries between a therapist and a client is very important, but really holding that line in a way that doesn't allow for any relationality to pull through, and kind of breaking that stigma and showing up and using the relationality as a tool for corrective experiences. So if somebody, let's say, and it's always about what are they feeling in this moment, because I believe the most in experiential therapy. So I'm not interested in trying to track back, something that happened to you a few weeks ago or a few years ago that you on a logical level think is the root of what's an issue today, more than what's happening for you right now. And it can be anything as simple as a conversation that you had with your mom 2 hours ago, or something that happened at work yesterday. And it might seem simple. We all know that triggers are rooted in some earlier memory that is likely connected to whatever it is you think need to address. But the difference is that we're working through something experiential. We're working through that conversation you had 2 hours ago that really rattled you and is alive in you in this moment. And we use that as a gateway to go back to those earlier moments, find the trigger, and in that space, see what we can do to work with that part, to resolve it, to become friends with it. It's right. It's never about getting rid of it, right? A lot of what I hear from my clients, like, I just want to stop feeling triggered, or I want to stop feeling, lack of confidence within myself, or I want to get rid of this. And it's like, it's about integration. And integration means this is a part of me that is fractured from my integrated whole, and how do I bring it back into the system of the me?
So how is it different going to traditional therapy as far as the speed that you've noticed of people processing their emotions and their stuff? For example, I put myself in therapy when I was 15 years old. Mm-hmm. I was like, this is what I need to do. And I just graduated, so to say, traditional therapy, and found different modalities that work for me, that are personally faster for me. Through breathwork, through IFS, through shadow work, through a lot of inner work, through meditation, through higher consciousness, through connecting to my own religion, through Judaism and Kabbalah, Hasidus. But from your experience, how do you find the speed of healing? Do you feel it's the same as being in therapy for many years? Do you feel like people are able to move a lot faster through the processes and come out with more skills in the work that you do?
It really depends. It really depends on where the specific person is at in, how in touch they are with their inner world already. I have clients who can just drop in immediately from the first session. And I have clients where we have to really take things slow, and just on a basic level, teaching them what it's like to just be aware of the different emotions that are alive in me right now. So it really just depends on who I'm working with.
Right.
But I do find that on the outset, my work can seem slow, but I have clients that within one session have massive transformations. I think mainly because they've just never experienced anything like it. There's not many people that are doing this type of therapy, that are trained in this type of somatic work. It's not, I want to be clear, it's not energy work.
Right.
It's nothing woo-woo. It's really nothing woo-woo. It's just using tools like mindfulness, IFS, and somatic experiencing, and really combining it in a holistic way. And the modality that I use is called Hakomi. Most people have never heard of it. It's a actually well-established therapeutic modality created by some people in California. And the joke about Hakomi is, who can we steal from next? Because it really does draw from somatic experiencing, IFS, and a lot of different modalities, which for me, as the receiver of that modality, or the person who's trained on that, it's great. I get to have a little bit of all. So.
Yeah, you don't get to close yourself off in one specific box. You can kind of pull it all in.
Yeah, it's a little bit of EMDR in there as well. It's really a beautiful mix of all.
Wow, that's really beautiful. I don't know a lot of people who do that. Well, we do know one lady, Chaisar Garevich. This is a shout out to you. She pulls everything in. She's our hero, I guess, right?
Yes, big fan of her.
Love her. I know that you work a lot with men and the masculine. Can you tell me a little bit about that? Because right now it's a hot topic, polarity, helping men and women get into their feminine and their masculine. But I know you deal with both men and women, but you do have a passion working specifically also with men and really helping them. Talk to me a little bit about that.
Yeah, my passion of working with men is sourced in, being a man and knowing what it's like to live in this world as a man that is so pressured to just push through things and not feel my emotions and to produce and produce and produce. And so much of my worth comes from producing and making money and just living in a world that doesn't create so much space for men to really drop into their emotions and really feel what their inner experience is like and take ownership over that. That's really ultimately the most important thing, because it's one thing to be someone that can feel his emotions. It's another thing to take responsibility over that.
Right.
So I get excited. I get excited about bringing that to the masculine spaces and showing them like what it really means to be a masculine, and how there is a world in which I can be in touch with my emotions and slow things down and trust more and sort of lean into more of these feminine qualities as a springboard to deepen into my masculine even more.
What does that look like specifically in your work when you're trying to lead men to that spot?
Yeah, I think that, and obviously you'll probably hear many different opinions on
Right.
this, and I won't say that I'm like the expert on masculinity or polarity, but what I would like to see in the men that I work with are men that are hyper aware of their inner world, that are really able to slow down, especially in those moments where things get emotional, and especially in those moments with their partner. I think the greatest litmus test of a man who's in his masculine is what happens when his partner has a meltdown or starts berating him for something that he did wrong, or something he did that hurt her, and his ability to remain rooted in his own self-worth and be able to invite that feedback as an invitation to deepen intimacy. That's really what it is. It's like, how do I take this as an opportunity to deepen the intimacy with my partner?
You just said the key word, it's feedback, not failure.
Right.
I feel like a lot of men, when the relationship isn't all happy, that idea, happy wife, happy life, which
Right.
has something to it, but when it's not happy, they're like, I'm a failure. My kids should be happy. My wife should be happy. My girlfriend should be happy. And they're not. And so it's a failure. But I love how you said, no, that's feedback.
Right.
That's information of like, okay, like
Right.
now I can take that. I'm the man. I can do something with that.
Right.
And that's an invitation for me to come in and learn more or be curious.
Yeah. And also be able to discern what's actually within my domain that I can actually do something about, and where do I just need to hold space, right? So it could very well be that my partner is telling me something and pointing a finger at me about something that's happening for her in the relationship, and being in touch with my agency and my own discernment enough to know, okay, wait, what's actually mine here and what's not mine here. Either way, you are committed to this relationship, so at the very least you do need to know how to hold the space for it. And that's where communication and a lot of the work I do with nonviolent communication comes in. Really, in those moments of listening, to not allow what you're hearing or what's being told to you to run through your filters and traumas, because once it goes through your filters and traumas, that's when all the triggers happen. But to really allow yourself to just deepen into this person's experience, whether it's true or not. I can sit with you while you're telling me how you're feeling and just be with you in your experience.
Would you agree with the analogy that the man is the harbor wall and the woman is the water and the waves? Like she can crash against him and he can hold that?
Ideally,
Ideally.
I think that I think where it gets tricky is where the woman is crashing her waves into a man that's not a harboring wall yet, and trying to like force a reality that's not yet there. So the question is, what do you do when your man hasn't yet learned how to hold that, how to hold those waves?
And then to help the woman understand how to be able to navigate that until her man is ready or while he's ready. You work together with couples or separate?
That's mainly together,
okay.
But I do separately as well. I think that it's always going to be a team effort, though.
Yeah.
Because if one person's, doing the work and the other person's not, you'll always have conflict.
And with this nonviolent communication that you were talking about, how does this come into play either with the relational work that you do?
Yeah, so maybe I'll talk a little bit about what nonviolent communication is.
Sure.
For people who don't know. So nonviolent communication was created by a guy named Marshall Rosenberg, a Jewish guy, of course.
Yes, of course.
Like most of these great inventions. And in a nutshell, it's based on this idea that everything that we do as humans, say or do, come from needs. And in a dynamic, it's so important to, first of all, always be aware of who's the pitcher and who's the catcher, right? So if we're having a conversation, being aware of when are you the pitcher, and therefore, what does it mean for me to be the catcher? And then when am I the pitcher, and what does it mean for you to be the catcher? And so on its most basic level, being the pitcher means you're expressing, and being the catcher means that I'm catching. And in a beautiful dynamic, there's that kind of bounce from side to side where both people are aware of their roles at any given time. And I'm sure many of us have been in situations where, let's say we were a pitcher, we're expressing, and all of a sudden the other person grabbed the pitcher role before I was ready to let go of it.
I'm not ready yet. Like, this is my turn. Like, hold on.
Exactly.
It's my shot.
Right.
You can have a turn in a second.
Right. And that can immediately disrupt the flow of the relationality in that conversation. All of a sudden you feel kind of cut off. So really just being aware of that dynamic will change the way that you relate to people. And in NVC, they teach you how to be aware of that, and what are even some tools, even some phrases that you can say, things like, after listening to a person speaking, is it okay if I share what's coming up for me? And then all of a sudden you've got consent from the other person to hand over the pitcher role to you. And now they're so much more ready and open and willing to listen to what you are about to share.
Right. Or they could say, I'm not ready yet. I'm still talking.
Exactly. And even just by asking that question, you're already deepening the intimacy of the relationship.
Right. You're like, I'm listening. I'm not being triggered.
Exactly. And so it's like when you think about when a person expresses, usually people express in terms of feelings and emotions and stories, right? So I might tell you, Ayala, you're not going to believe it. I made plans with this person and she canceled on me, and she's so inconsiderate, and like she always does this. She's always thinking about herself. So all I'm doing is telling you a story, telling you some emotions and judgments, right? But what am I not telling you, which is actually the most important thing? I'm not telling you what I'm actually wanting from all of this. Right? Because we all know that everything is just a mirror in my life. Everything is just showing me something that's alive within me, and everybody is just playing a role in whatever the universe is trying to show me or teach me in my journey. And so beyond the noise of the story and the judgments and the emotions and the trigger is a deep desire. And as a listener, what you can do when you hear someone express in that way is, it seems like you really value reliability in a relationship, let's say. So as a listener, you can help people get to what they're actually wanting from what they're expressing. So when you say something like, oh, it seems like you really care about friends who are reliable, and all of a sudden they'll respond, be like, that's really important to me. They feel betrayed in their desire to have a friend who's reliable. They want to know that their friend is reliable, and the fact that she canceled on me and she always does this really triggered me. And so as a listener, you can help people kind of really get to that core. And of course, as a speaker, like if you're in touch with your desires beyond just the story and the emotions, then you can hold yourself through it. You can be like, okay, this is showing me what I'm really wanting. And it helps with discernment. It's like, okay, now I know, as I continue navigating in this world and finding new friends or making new friends or, cleaning up house, like I know this is a value for me. And I know that when I make friends with someone, I look for reliability. And that's really important, especially in partner conversations, right? So if a partner comes to you and starts, berating you about something that you did that hurt them, like really kind of reflecting back to them what you heard and really kind of getting to like, so it seems like you're really wanting for me to be more present in at home or with the kids.
Right.
And all of a sudden, it's no longer a fight. It's we're trying to understand each other better here because we're on the same team.
Right. And I'm validating the feeling that you need, the need that you need, the
Yes.
desire that you need.
Yes.
And I'm hearing that.
By the way, validating doesn't mean I agree with it.
Right.
I can think you're nuts. I think you're crazy.
Yeah.
But it's your experience.
Right. Feelings are not facts, but you
Right.
can hold them.
Right.
That's
Right.
I love that. I'm gonna have to get some notes for you to practice some of that
Yeah.
nonviolent communication, nonviolent desire or needs.
The line that comes up is the therapist that I work with, and he's also a therapist that I've done nonviolent communication courses with. I did level 1, 2, and 3 with him. His name is Danny Cohen. He is probably the single most impactful person in my life. My therapist, my mentor, teacher, everything. He's a student of Thomas Hubel, for those who are familiar with him. In our MVC courses, what he kept coming back to was this reframe of, what are we doing here? In this course, like, why are we here? Like, what's the goal of learning this? And the line that he says, it's just, I walk with this line everywhere I go, is we're here to create a world where hearts and bodies can relax together. So what emerges from there is, what can I do and how am I showing up in my life in a way that is allowing for other people to relax, for their heart and their body to really relax around me? How beautiful is that? How amazing, what a privilege it is for me to contribute to other people around me to relax, to just feel that they can be themselves, that they don't need to perform.
That would be wonderful if the collective consciousness could do that, because that allows everyone to be in their own truth.
Exactly.
and their own purity.
Exactly.
With having said that, where do you feel that, like, this work where the overconsumption comes in?
Yeah.
And I know that we were talking earlier, there's this kind of new concept that's like, stop doing all the work and get into integration. And then there's the other side, like, how do you balance both?
Right.
The overconsumption of healing
Right.
and working on ourselves. How do we integrate? So there's this dichotomy that's kind of sitting out there.
Yeah.
Where do you see that?
Yeah, it's a great question. And it's particularly, like, interesting for me to see, because my healing journey started about 10 years ago.
And you're from Los Angeles.
Yes, I'm from
So,
Los Angeles.
Los Angeles, going into breathwork and healing, that must have been like a very, very dramatic shift.
Yeah, I mean, yes, it was. Growing up in LA, it was all about, like, just focus on career and money and that and the glam and all of that. But for me, the turning point, there was a post on Instagram that went viral about this. More when I was 22 years old, I was in Israel. It was after college, right when I finished college. I went to Israel for a year, and I went on a date with a girl. It was a third date, actually. And she looked at me on the third day and she said, "Levi, you have a child in the basement of your soul that's begging for your love."
Oh.
And I had no idea what the fuck she was talking about. I was like, what? But something about it was like, there's something about this that's true. I don't know what it is. I don't know who is the child? Where is this basement? But something about this is true. And that set me off on a path to kind of deepen into concept of inner child and wounding and traumas and all things that I was very hidden from. Like, I wasn't aware of them. I never went to therapy really, growing up. And it was very taboo. My parents are also Sephardi, like, for them, it's like, you go to therapy, that means you're insane.
Yeah.
You're like, you have issues. And no, my child is not insane.
I'm perfect.
Yeah. And like, so many of my teachers tried to get me on ADHD medication. Thank God I have a Moroccan mother that was like, fuck, no.
No way.
No way.
She was smart, yeah.
Yes. And honestly, I love her for that, because so many teachers are just like, yeah, your child has ADHD. And it's like, ADHD, or he's a kid. And you're trying to put him in 4 walls for 6 hours straight,
Yeah.
Anyway, so I and very quickly after this incident happened with this woman, I was in yeshiva, and this rabbi, I hope I don't get in trouble for this. This rabbi in the yeshiva saw that I was going through a little bit of a hard time, and he's like, my son goes to these gatherings. I don't really know what happens there, but it seems to really help him. And I was like, interesting. Can you put me in touch? Turns out it was ayahuasca ceremonies.
Uh-huh.
This was way before
And he had no idea.
anyone. He had no idea. I mean,
Okay.
no,
Right.
ayahuasca
Okay.
was not a thing.
Yeah.
We're talking about like 9 years ago.
Yeah, that was not popular back then.
It was not a thing. And I even remember trying to research it. I Googled it. I could not find much information about it. Like a few Reddit posts. But I'm a curious guy. And I was like, yeah, let's do it. And I went to that ceremony. And in that ceremony, I saw all the different areas of my life that I was doing things to impress people, to gain validation, anything from the beard I was growing, the payas I was growing. Because I had a beard this long.
No, you didn't.
I did, yes.
And payas too.
And I had payas until here.
Aw, that's adorable.
I went through a lot of, because I grew up religious. So I went through a lot of different journeys searching for like what's the type of Judaism that I want to connect to. Mm-hmm. So I tried the Breslov and I tried the Chabad and I like really deepened into it. I grew my payas, and then when I did Chabad, I grew my beard, and so I in that ceremony I like saw so many of the things that I was doing, even like the decision to wear my tzitzis out was like, it looks cooler, like people will see me and think I'm this like neo chassid, and it was like a huge shattering because I saw it all. Like the veil just came down and I was like, holy moly. And I remember it being the most bittersweet feeling, because it was bitter because I was like, oh my God, there's so much wounding here, so much brokenness. And also so filled with joy that I get to start working on it now.
Right.
I could have lived my whole life not knowing about this. Anyways, to come back to your question, because that set me off on until now, years and years of retreats and therapy, and obviously all in the while like building a career in tech, and I was always very balanced with that, and I was forced to, though, because I don't come from money at all, so it's like I have to,
right?
I can't just fly away into healing land.
Wouldn't that be nice?
Who's gonna pay the bills and all that stuff. So thank God, God designs things perfectly, so I was focused on both, but equally, like they were both a priority for me, and very quietly, because nobody was into this stuff.
Yeah.
So I was going to these retreats, and I was going to these journeys, and I was doing the therapy, and I was reading the books, and didn't really have friends to talk to about this so much. I would from time to time like tell my friends, like, do you want to come to a ceremony? They're like, no. Like I'm good with my demons in the closet.
Yeah, right.
I'm not interested. I'm like, why? Like I didn't get it. I was like, for me it was like so obvious that like these demons or traumas or triggers, whatever, they are what's holding me back from being completely free. Like, why would I want to be enslaved to things that, like, I'm going to continue being triggered by these things in ways that will, bring out reactions that are ugly. Like, I want to show up so present for my wife, so present for my kids, so patient, so loving. I want to show up for my community in just such a wholesome way. And I want to be embodied. I want to like walk this world and feel good in my body. And so it was so obvious for me why this is a priority. It was almost like strategic. It was like, duh, I'm going to work on this because I feel how I feel by not working on it. And it's not fun. Like, right. I have these anger issues and these triggers, and it's like, yeah, like I want to work on this. Like I don't want to be that dad that's like screaming at my kids and, running away from my wife when things get emotional. Like I want to be able to face life.
Not a lot of people get that clarity. And I think it's definitely a gift when you do get it, because it gives you the opportunity to take a path. My own father had the opportunity to deal with his own demons or to follow his family and his father. And you see the life that he lives now, alone, isolated by himself with nobody around him. And I think that the longer we stay away from addressing those issues, like you got the opportunity to, who knows where you could have landed. You could have been a miserable billionaire tech. I mean, billions of dollars and miserable. But the fact that you had that insight to be like, no, these demons, I don't want them not just to affect me. I don't want them to affect my future children. I don't want them to affect my future wife. I don't want them to affect my community, myself. Like you really were able to disconnect and see the whole picture, which is really beautiful.
I saw it as, why do we come to this world? Everybody talks about this, the tikkun olam. And I really believe that our souls came down to this. We've lived many lifetimes before. And in this lifetime, my soul came back down because there are things that it needs to correct, that it needs to fix. what does it need to fix? What does it need to correct? My belief is mido, characteristics, character traits. And that's so rooted in my traumas. And it's like I once heard that people say, I am the way I am, all these triggers that I have because of my parents, because of how I grew up. And it's like, no, these traumas, these challenges that you have, lack of self-esteem or whatever it is that you're dealing with, they are rooted in your soul correction. And you probably worked on it or tried working on it in previous lifetimes, and you weren't able to get to a point where you were able to fix it. So when you were in heaven, I don't know if you ever saw the movie Soul.
Yes.
Disney movie,
yeah.
right? So you know that big hole when the souls are just like
Mm-hmm.
waiting to jump. So they don't show the part where you're like in the waiting room with like looking at the pamphlet,
Yeah.
right? So the pamphlet has it all. Who's my parents, who's my siblings, who are my friends, the school I'm going to, the city I'm growing up in, and everything designed perfectly to re-trigger you or reawaken the things that you did not fix in previous lifetimes so that you can have the opportunity to fix it in this lifetime.
Right. Are they triggers or are they activators?
What's the difference?
The difference would be is this something that's triggering me and pushing me into an area where I can't handle and I get to disengage and disassociate? Or is this an invitation for me to grow? And the way that I sometimes see is that people look at triggers as, oh, this person is toxic, this relationship is toxic, and they cut people out and everything out, and without being like, no, this is an invitation, this is an activation. I can activate, like you got to activate this part of you that can help thousands of people.
Yeah.
Instead of being like, oh,
yeah,
I'm going to just let that be, just cut that out and I'm a better person because I did that. No, what's the invitation here?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Triggers are our biggest teachers. They show us exactly what needs attention, what's unresolved, and really, really what I'm wanting, but to use triggers as a weapon to remove people from your life or to run away even further, that's not it.
No. So when people are doing this work and they get to the place of, all right, now I'm being activated, what's the difference between, okay, I'm going to continue doing more deep work on myself, and when do I start going from that to actually bringing it back into my own life?
Right. So this is the question that we started with and went off on a tangent. Yeah.
Tangents are great.
Yeah. So unfortunately, I think that if a person is in that place in their life where they've only been doing the inner work and they haven't yet brought that into their life, then I feel like they've been doing it wrong, because really true healing and true inner work is where I'm expanding my capacity. And sort of like, if you think about the pendulum, so I'm going into moments of deep inner work and healing, and then coming back into my day-to-day life. Like I was telling you earlier that there's this book, like after the ecstasy, there's laundry. And it's this idea that after any experience, after any workshop, after any breath work, after any psychedelic experience, like there's laundry, like you got to go home, you got to clean, if you have kids, even more so. I think there's nothing more grounding than someone who's doing the work while having a family. I feel like you're forced, like when you're single, like there's a lot more of that ability to like go to a retreat or go on a psychedelic journey and then come back home and just like be in your inner world for a few days, but it's all about integration, and it's one of my therapists, the one that I do or that I've done some one-on-one psychedelic therapy sessions with. He always says that the journey is just an excuse for the integration. The journey is just an excuse for the integration, meaning we go on the journey, we have this peak experience just as an excuse to integrate. So if I'm having this experience, if I'm going to an ayahuasca ceremony, and in the ayahuasca ceremony, I'm one with the universe and, singing and dancing, and I'm flowing and I'm smiling and everything is loosened and my body's relaxed. And then I go home and all of a sudden I'm yelling at my kids and I'm running away from my wife's emotions or whatever it might be. What are you doing? Like this isn't it. And if you feel that it's too challenging for you, go get support. It's not enough to just go to ayahuasca ceremonies. You need to find the support that you need. And maybe maybe what you need more than the ayahuasca ceremonies is actually the slow and steady growth, like the one where you're working with a therapist and in a sober state, going into your inner world and actually feeling what needs to be felt. Because I've been to many ayahuasca ceremonies where 8 hours went by and I didn't meet any demons. I didn't meet any hard feelings because I just got so distracted by the good music.
Right.
You know, especially today, and you know, a lot of the ayahuasca ceremonies that are being offered that are basically concerts. It's damn good music, don't get me wrong.
Sure.
And sometimes I'll engage for the music,
Yeah.
you know, like I want an evening where I can just enjoy amazing music, but that's what I'm going for.
Right.
And if anything else happens, it's a bonus.
But people use this as an escape sometimes rather than to do the work.
Of course.
Right.
Because you get this cathartic feeling in the moment. People are addicted to that the morning after a ceremony when you're like pudding, you know, you're coming out of a psychedelic journey and you're like pudding and you're loving and your heart is blasted open and it's amazing. But if you're not actually integrating, then you're just holding your breath until the next ceremony. And I'm seeing this a lot in New York and, you know, around the world, especially in the Jewish community. I feel that Jews in general are and I'm a victim to this too. There's an addiction to intensity. We love intensity.
We love intensity. Yeah.
We love intensity. And it's really a trauma response because the amount of times that our ancestors have been in fight or flight and in intense moments, like that's what our DNA is familiar with. Always just being in intensity. And you know, assuming you believe that we've lived before and trauma is passed through DNA as well, you know, there's this thing called generational trauma.
Right.
Then we love intensity, and these ceremonies can just be more intensity, and that translates also as well. We were talking about in my relationships as well, in whether you're single and you're, you know, looking for a relationship or you're already in a relationship. So much of what people look for is the drama. Like there's something about that like makes you feel alive. So
where do you find that you can pivot between I'm here for the intensity and I'm here for integration? Where can I pivot in that spot and balance the two? Maybe you need to cut one out over the other for a little while. Where's that?
Yeah. If you know, like if you're in touch with yourself enough to know that me going to this journey, I just want the high, you know, and obviously I want the healing as well, but you know, we want things, we have needs, and then there's strategies, coming back to NVC. So the need here is I want to heal. Now there's different strategies, and sometimes I get really fixated on one strategy. And so if you know that this strategy is very tied to something unhealthy, which is just the need for catharsis, or maybe a lot of times people go to ceremony just for community.
Right.
You know, because let's say those gatherings don't happen often outside of the realm of ceremony, where you get together in a circle, there's no phones, people are present, they're singing in prayer. It's beautiful. It's divine. Like I love it more than anything. But the question is, how do you bring that into your life? And that's why I started doing the song circles.
Okay. And
the song circles in the Anglo world, I say this very proudly. I am one of the first people to start them.
Okay.
Because I started them right before October 7th. And it was a culmination of years of being in ceremonies and getting to a point where I was like, I actually am not interested in going and blasting my brains out right now. I just want to sit around some people and sing and pray and lay down and listen to music, live music, medicine music. You know, obviously there's a certain frequency in the type of music that's sung in ceremonies. And that's where the song circles were born.
So that's really interesting because you were able to take out the high experience and still give people the high experience to be in community and connect.
Exactly. And that's where the whole concept of relationality comes in. Like so much of healing comes in community, especially today. Like, you know, when you think about collective trauma, which is so much of what we went through on October 7th and what we're going through, that's where there's such a need for collective healing. And so there's only so much I can get done or work through in a one-on-one basis. And one's not better than the other. It's just different medicines. But there's a one-on-one platform with my therapist. And then there's just being around people and connecting and relating and letting my nervous system remember what it means to be in community and to be held and to be safe and to relax into that.
The nervous system regulation, I can definitely relate to that in my own work that I do outside of podcasts and all my other businesses that I do. I see when people come to, for example, one of my sound baths or my meditations, or I co-facilitate one, when the nervous system is settled.
Yeah.
And I've seen it without psychedelics. It's amazing. It's absolutely beautiful when you have a collective group of people who can regulate their nervous system and tap into community. And obviously there's different modalities. Psychedelics help as well too. But to know for people to know that they can come to a song circle or do a breath work or any of these other modalities to help them integrate, and with like the idea of resetting your nervous system, or you were saying like bringing peace, like that's what we're here for, is to bring peace to each other, to allow other people to feel comfortable.
Yeah. And I think that's where the topic of intimacy comes up. And when I say intimacy, obviously the listeners immediately, you can check in with yourself. You immediately go to romance, to intimacy between a partner.
Mm-hmm.
I really want to invite intimacy to expand into all relationships, and to be out of the realms of sexuality, even to just be, what does it look like for me to bring more intimacy into my life with people? And what that means is more relationality, more depth in relation. And for me, intimacy is the litmus test of how embodied you are, because what you'll find, and you can start noticing this, what you find with a lot of actually big speakers or big, figures out there, when you get them one-on-one, they're actually a bit awkward, and they have a very hard time actually like being able to be in intimacy with you.
Yeah.
Because what that asks of you is to really reveal yourself. What that asks of you is to really slow down and to attune to another human being. And that to me is so much more real than speaking in front of 500 people.
I agree. My mentors that I hand select, I have, let's say 3 that I really look up to, and I talk to maybe every 2 or 3 weeks. Like I'm constantly looking up to them, because when I talk to them, when I get them one-on-one, there's that vulnerability, which allows for this intimacy relationship where like I can tell you my problems and they're like, yeah, I struggled with that too. It's not like they're coming from this high place and you're like, I can't relate to you. They're like, no, like, yeah, I'm also like, I'm in it with you. Like I also have stuff. And that vulnerability allows that intimacy to happen. And that's where so much healing comes in, because you're like, I'm not alone. I'm not crazy. Even the person I look up to can help me. And I love that the work that you do allows, you were saying, to bridge that gap between like therapist and client, and kind of brings it a little bit closer.
There's a line that my therapist once told me that really broke me open. We were in one of the sessions, and I was in a place of mindfulness, like he would take me in, and he said, Levi, we are here to pay close and caring attention to you. And just hearing those words, oh my God, like this is a relational container where together, him and I are paying close and caring attention to me. Like I just melted. It's like, me? Like I'm worthy of that? Like I'm worthy of being paid close and caring attention to. And so much of what people need is to know that we're here with you together, and together we're holding whatever it is that's coming up.
Right. We're not afraid of it, whatever needs to come up. Did you, as a child growing up, did you find that there was this space for it to be about you? What's your most difficult family dynamic relationship today that you struggle with, if you're open to sharing that?
I think that for me, what's probably the most challenging is meeting the child in me that still hasn't given up on the dream of a specific type of relationship that I would want with my parents that I never had, and I meet that child in me a lot. He's still there. He's still there, kicking and screaming, wanting for things to be different. And it's amazing because I've done a lot of grief work. And by the way, grief work is like so important in all of this therapy work. It's because we're all grieving. What are we grieving? We're all grieving something we didn't get.
Right.
And that's what's the root of whatever trauma or lack of trauma, right? So a lot of times trauma isn't necessarily something that happened to me. It could be something that didn't happen to me that I really needed.
An unmet need.
And so going through the grief of like, yeah, I really needed that. I really wanted that. And that sucks that I didn't get that. And sitting with that and letting that really breathe. And it still shows up in my life. Like I'm still, when I get on the phone with my father and I'm wanting for a deeper conversation, a deeper relationship, and the capacity on his end is not there. He's more of a simple person. He doesn't go to the deepest depths of emotions. And it's like, okay, I have to remind myself that really the deepest love and what love is asking of me in this moment is to meet him where he can be met.
So having said that, where your inner child, you still have that place where he's longing and desiring for something, a need that he hasn't had yet met, which I can relate to 100%. I'm turning 40 in a few months, and I'm still like, I want this relationship with my mom. Like, I really want a specific relationship, and unfortunately, she's not well, so she can't give that to me. So I'm angry at her for being sick, and it's and I'm like, no, like I hear myself talking. For me, when I go into those places, I personally turn my trauma into hisbodedut. So I'm deeply rooted in Breslov, and it really helps. And when I need a little bit more help, I'll turn to therapy or breath work or other modalities that help me, meditation. But I really fall into the teachings of Rabbi Nachman myself, because for me, I feel like it just takes the simplicity of Judaism, of healing, and I can personally absorb that really well. But everyone's different. For you spiritually, like when you've hit a brick wall and let's say all the modalities are they're there, but you need a connection, is there a specific spiritual type of hygiene that you use or connection that helps you, or some rabbi that you really adore his teachings that talk to you?
Definitely his bodedut. And just in short, the ability to just at that point where it's like, I've tried everything, I'm giving it over to you. Like this is beyond me, and just this is yours, God. And that's the most freeing thing.
We should be teaching that in to everyone, because like at the end of the day, you've got community, you have everything, and when you can surrender and let that go, I think that's the biggest vulnerability that anyone can have, is I'm surrendering to a guy in the sky all my problems, and I'm trusting he can take care of them, and I'm going to be okay.
Absolutely.
That's terrifying, but I think it's also the most freeing. I'm glad you also connect that way.
Yeah,
I think I'm the only crazy person sitting in my backyard screaming, Abba, my hands up in the air.
Amazing. Yeah, no, it's beautiful.
Well, Levi, I just want to thank you so much for coming all the way from Israel to my podcast. Like, obviously that's why you traveled here.
Exactly. Flew in just for this.
But I really want to thank you. I think I really connected to a lot of the different things that you said, and I hope our listeners also do, and know that there's different ways to connect, different healings, and to be aware, hyper aware when you are healing, what to look for, what signs to look for, how to build a community, how to be honest and vulnerable with yourself. I took a lot of that to heart, so I really appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's an honor. Thank you.
Thank you for being here.
Yeah, it's good to be here too.
Have a safe trip back.
Thank you.